Okay, so I found a book, right, that I wrote. It was not a book. It was more like letters to God. I'll put it that way. And I used to write God every day when I was younger about just my life overall, but mainly about the people that surrounded me. Now, this was like about 2013, 14, so right after high school, I started writing in this book. And I just want to focus in on something because I think I missed it too. Sometimes you're not ready for certain stuff in your mindset. The first time it ever comes to you, sometimes you're not prepared. But what I want to say is this. When I read this, I literally found this book a few weeks ago. No, a few months ago. And I was like, oh, this is garbage. I'm going to throw it away, right? But then I tucked it away. And I found it again. I was like, oh, yeah, I got to remember to throw this book away. And last night I had a dream. And I'm saying this because sometimes you're not prepared. Last night I had a dream. This is the second dream I had. 2 nights ago I had a dream about me, Mac, and two of our closest friends, Tevin and Whitney, being in an accident. Then fast forward, last night I have a dream about just me and Mac and our relationship overall. Obviously, no, marriage is not the best, but it's the effort that you put in to make it work. And the dream last night kind of had me shook. And I woke up this morning, started cleaning the house, and I found my prayer book again. Now, remind you, I wrote this right after high school. I used to write every morning. I used to get up to make sure, because everybody prays different. So I got up in the morning, and I made sure that I prayed. But the way I prayed to God, it was like, normal people get on their knees. Me, I have a talk with God. Because I feel like prayers are overrated and people think that God is a genie. God's not a genie. He listens to you. He can answer your prayers. But you don't pray to him just to, oh, God, I need this to happen for me. And then you forget about God. No, it's a constant walk. And I'm guilty because I've lost my faith so many times. I've fallen short of the glory. But one thing that I learned about God, God is an everlasting, forgiving, understandable God. And I'm saying this because I found this book. And I found it again. This is my third time finding it since I wrote in it, and then when we kept moving, I made sure I kept the book. I told you I found it 2 times, but this morning I found it. 7 o'clock this morning I got up to clean, and when I tell you I opened it and I started reading it, and it's like I don't even feel like I wrote it. I feel like I'm reading somebody else's writing, and it's just about the constant things and the prayers, the stuff I used to pray for, the people who always surrounded me. I constantly prayed for my mom. I constantly prayed for my relationship because at that time me and Mac weren't married, but we were seriously dating. And I prayed for my sister, and I prayed for patience, and I prayed for all of this stuff that I didn't even realize that I was struggling with back then. And I was struggling it back then, and I feel like it's just a repeat all over again of what I'm going through. And sometimes you're not ready for something, or sometimes you miss the point the first few times. Sorry, I'm about to cry. But sometimes you miss the point the first few times because in your mindset, you weren't ready. I was ready to throw this book away. I was ready to be like, all right, well, that's the past. I ain't, let me, start a new book or something. But I'm going to keep this book. And it's literally like, it's letters that I wrote to God. It's letters that I wrote to God about just pouring my heart out. And I dated him. I'm glad I dated this. Every single last page in this book, I dated it. But one thing that I want to point out is that I constantly prayed for the people around me and the people that I surrounded. And I constantly prayed over my mom, my dad, my second family, which means Mac's family. Literally the friends. I always blessed anybody who walked around me. I constantly prayed for them. People who reached out to me, I prayed for them. People that were constantly in my circle, I prayed for them. And it's just boggling to me because one of the things that really pointed out in the book is that I constantly prayed for my marriage. Well, I wasn't married at the time, so I constantly prayed for my relationship. And just asking God, not telling God, oh, I need you to do this, but asking God, God, if it's meant to be, let it be. God, if this is the marriage that I'm supposed to walk into, because I told you, me and Mac were seriously dating. And I mean, granted, I did get pregnant before I got married, but I knew that getting married to Mackinson was something that I wanted to do because I knew I loved him. And I constantly prayed, God, if this is for me, show me a sign. God, if I missed the sign, show it again. If it's not meant for me, and God put it out there clear as day. And I still remember that day before me and Mackinson started dating. We started dating in high school, and then we took a little break for 6 months. 6 months we took a break. 6 months is when I started writing in this, those 6 months. I started writing in this January 1st, 2013. And Maxon and I took a break for 6 months because I needed to figure out, am I rushing things with him? Or is this something that is meant to be? And granted, I told you, every marriage is not perfect. But one thing you have to remember, when the times get tough, I worked at Amazon. And there was a guy who I would always talk to, because, you got to make work friends. And the guy that I always talked to, and he was married. And I worked at a warehouse, so, and I worked overnight, so we were like the overnight putting it in the stuff. And we worked next to each other. And we were talking. And one of the things that he said just like rang a bell in my head that just now after reading this. When he said it back then, I was like, yeah. But now it's like, one thing clicks with another. He was like, marriage is for better or for worse, for sickness and in health, till death do you part. I said, yeah, you're right. But he's like, but what happens when the worst part is not a person being sick, but it's when you can't stand a person, when you're not in love with them like you used to be? What happens then? What do you do? And now that I'm thinking about it right now, as I was reading all these letters that I wrote to God, I'm like, wow, I understand what he was trying to say. When the times get tough, there's times where you don't, like sometimes I can't stand my husband. He gets on my nerves. But is that something that you pull yourself away from? And I understand there's a difference between being stupid and staying with somebody. But when it's something that could be fixed, I'm not saying stay in an abusive relationship. I'm not saying when you're physically, mentally, emotionally abused, that's different. But what I'm saying, once the time gets tough, do you automatically give up? Or do you be like, bro, let me pray about this? And I prayed about my relationship with Mac when we were dating. And we took that 6-month break. I needed to think like, God, all right, it's just me and you. That's literally what I wrote in here. God, it's me and you. What you want me to do? Like, is this somebody that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with? Is this somebody that you want in my life? Is this somebody I'm going to deal with in my life? And when I tell you, marriage is not easy. Mackinson has brought me through hell and back and vice versa. I know I put Mackinson through hell and back. But here we are. And I'm going to be very transparent, because one thing that I've learned in life is to be very transparent. And I've learned that I've been giving up. We've reached a rough path in our relationship where he don't give a fuck and I don't give a fuck. So we both not giving a fuck. And I can see that. I'm not saying that we leaving each other, so don't get the wrong message. Don't miss the point here. What I'm saying is that when the times get tough, people be ready to just go in their own corners. When the times get tough, people don't be ready to pray together. People don't be ready to be like, God, like, bro, we're struggling together. What do you want us to do? What do you want us to do? This is where we are right now. This is where we are currently in this position at this moment in our relationship. What should be our next step? Instead of running off and going to cheat, instead of running off going to pour your emotions, take all that emotions that you have and pouring it into somebody else and be like, bro, my marriage not working, or bro, my relationship not working. And all that energy that you're putting into somebody else, you could be taking that same energy and putting it back to making it work. Because there was once upon a time that me and Mackinson, when I tell you, we were two peas in a pod and we could not be separated if you paid us to be separated. There was times like that. And now here we are, 3 kids later, 3 beautiful, wonderful kids later. 3 beautiful. But one thing I realized, well, several things that I realized is that, and I wrote it down, it's In your marriage, the four major things that I see is that you need faith. Now, first and foremost is faith. You can't do nothing without Jesus, because God he's a powerful and almighty God, and he gonna let you know, if you put this marriage before me, I'm gonna show you who the true boss is. Then you need loyalty. Loyalty. And it just don't come with cheating. It comes with being loyal to your man or your woman. It comes with encouragement. Being encouraged. Might be 5 things. I don't know if I said 4 or 5. But come with encouragement. Constantly feeding that same energy into your relationship. Just being encouraged, like, babe, like, I understand that, you know, we going through this right now, but we got this. Just that confirmation. And then on top of that, consistency. Because just as well as, you know, Mackinson was chasing me and, you know, like, Jay, we gonna be together, baby. And I was like, you know, you my forever after, you my ride or die. And now we love each other. I know we love each other, but we can't stand each other. We be like, what, nigga, what you want? Man, if you don't get out my face. And I know we love each other, but it's just that we missing that consistency, that fire, that drive. And now both of the things that we say is that we just want peace. Peace. But what does peace come with? Everything I just listed prior. Encouraging faith, loyalty, and consistency. You can't have none of those. You can't have, you know, the goal marriage, the team marriage, being, what is it called? Couple goals or whatever. You can't have that. If you're looking for the wrong things, people want, but they don't go after it. People say, oh, I want, you know, this in my marriage, and I want that in my relationship, and I want this, that, and the third. But are you willing to put in the effort? And I ain't gonna lie, I lost some of my drive, especially having kids. You know, my energy has died. You know, I'm constantly trying to be the mom, trying to be the wife, that I forgot how to be a part of my relationship. And vice versa with him. Atkinson's always freaking working. And if he's not working, Atkinson's barely home. Because he's a busybody. Because we're missing that oomph. And it's okay. One thing I've learned, people used to be afraid to talk about shit. Excuse my language. Because I know I've been talking about God. But people used to be afraid to talk about the truth. And I think that's what many people need. Like, hey, I'm struggling with this too in my marriage, and it's okay to talk about it. And I'm going to talk about it so you learn how to walk through it. People just be so quick to give up. And I used to be on that boat too, of just giving up. Like, nah, it ain't worth putting my energy in. Just rather just give up. But I am 26 years old. I have 3 children, 7 months, 2 years old, and a 6-year-old. 1 girl and 2 boys. Mackinson and I, it's going to be year 11 that we've been together, year 7 that we've been married. And they always say, the first few years is the honeymoon phase. And it's true. But it's those middle years, the years that we're in now, that I'm struggling with, that he's struggling with, that we're struggling with together, that, bruh, we got a lot to work on. And I'm not going to lie, because if you asked me a few weeks ago, a few months ago, I was ready to just be like, French toast this relationship, okay? Like, it's not worth my time. It's not worth my energy. He doesn't see my value. But am I giving this relationship everything that I got? Because sometimes a female thinks that, I ain't the problem, he the problem. But you also have to go back. Like, what did you do that caused him to pull away from you? Like, men, sometimes some men are stupid. So like I said, there's the exceptions. But some men, there's a reason why they're withdrawing. There's a reason why they're going in their own corner. Like, I know for me, my father-in-law, Mac's father, passed away. I mean, we've been struggling with stuff overall, so I can't just say. But I know that was a big withdrawal from him. And before that, it was just a constant, me going through his phone, this, that, and the third, And it's just not learning how to deal with my brokenness. I was raised in a household that my mom and my dad were together and they were loving, and they went through some shit too, don't get me wrong. My dad's a pastor. My mom is the first lady. But then I also looked at Mackeson's household, like his household struggled with things too. And you have to take that into consideration of what they seen, what I seen in front of me. That's why I strongly believe, like, I'm a loving person that loves to take care of people because that's how I seen it in my mom. You know, my mom worked 2 jobs. She's a nurse, so she worked 2 nursing jobs. Went to school full time. My mama has 5 kids. I mean, granted, we were all growing up. But then at the end of the day, she still was that wife. And I was like, bruh, like, that's my mom. Like, I want to be just like that. And I realized with Mac was that I was giving Mackeson my all in the beginning. But then I had to think about his household. And I was like, there's a lot of background that we need to work on first. And I'm realizing that too, reading in my book, like, reading my prayers to God, like, I was really talking to God, like, God, I understand how my household is versus his household, and this, that, and the third. And I was like, there's a lot to work on. And I feel like once you get caught up, like I told you, we have 3 kids, so we just got caught up in the just making sure that we keep a roof over our kids' head, that we lost a lot of stuff in our marriage. And it goes more than that. It goes between lying, deceiving, not telling each other the truth. Oh, Lord, and I knew Mackeson could lie his ass off. I never knew that until we got married. But it's not that he purposely wanted to do it. It was him trying to just keep the peace. Like, bro, like, Jay gonna talk her shit. So let me just lie now. So she don't got... But not knowing in his mind that, oh, you lying to me. This is gonna cause 2 times the problems. Like, I'd rather you be a man and be honest with me than to lie to me. Like, lying hurts, and men don't see it that way. And understanding the logic of men. Like, men, they just think right then and there. Women, we're overthinkers like a motherfucker. We're all overthinkers. We constantly think about now, the future, the past. And one thing I've learned, stop bringing up the past. Unless it's something that is bothering you and that you feel like you need to express. But otherwise than that, if you know your man did something 7, 8 years ago, and you just keep bottling that shit inside, and then when you have an explosion, you bringing up stuff 7 years ago, and he looking at you like, bro, that happened 7 years ago. You really gonna bring that up now? Because you never expressed it back then. But you gotta learn how to do that. So, I don't know who's watching this video. I don't know how young you are. Sorry I look this way, but I just literally, I've been up since 5 a.m. just deep thoughts in my mind. But I don't know if this encourages one person. I want y'all to know that there's so much out there, y'all. There's so much out there in your marriage. Don't give up. Don't give up. And another thing that I constantly talk to my good friend, cousin about, you know, if somebody's not married, and even somebody is married, don't allow everybody in your marriage. Because they're going to tell you this, that, and the 30. Your mindset going to run with it. You might end up messing up. Hey, my friend. You might end up messing up a good thing. Put God first. Don't let just anybody in on your marriage. And that's a downfall that I made too. Just crying to anybody who had an open ear when times were tough. But learn how to have Christ in your marriage. Say hello with your mouth full of saliva. But learning how to have Christ in your marriage, y'all. So if you're learning from anything, all I want to say is don't give up. Unless you really pray and God shows you the signs that, bro, like, this ain't working out. Like, yeah, I should have never got married in the first place, and you ignored my warnings in the beginning, and here you are now. But otherwise than that, work on it. It takes time. It's not something that's overnight shipping. It is something that is constant. That's why I said consistency. It's something that is constant, that you constantly have to pray for. So, be blessed, y'all.